Welcome to the bold analysis. The prominent Ugandan opposition leader Kizza Besigye, who ran against Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in 4 elections and lost each time in elections that were marred with claims of vote rigging and suppression, was kidnapped on Saturday after attending Martha Karua's book launch in Nairobi, and the wife is raising her voice against the Kenyan authorities that they must take responsibility, and is calling on the Kenyan authority and Museveni's counterpart in Kampala to at least allow them, the lawyers, access the husband, who allegedly now is being held in a military jail in Kampala. And this is what the wife has tweeted in respect to this. I just want us to get her tweet. Winnie Byanyima: I request the government of Uganda to release my husband Kizza Besigye from where he is being held immediately. He was kidnapped last Saturday while he was in Nairobi for Honorable Martha Karua's book launch. I am now reliably informed that he is in a military jail in Kampala. We, his family and his lawyers, demand to see him. He's not a soldier. Why is he being held in a military jail? And she has tagged Martha Karua and Museveni. The wife is the executive director of UNAIDS, United Nations Support on AIDS, an AIDS program from the United Nations. Walakira Moses is reacting to this, saying, but what's wrong with Kenya? How can it accept such on its soil? This has been happening for decades, where Kenyan governments facilitate the arrest of asylum seekers and political opponents of Museveni regime. It's high time Kenya is called out. I think the Nairobi team must appreciate that this puts Kenya in a very bad place. Kenya was recently elected to the UN Human Rights Council. And that election, or rather that position, sparked criticism from both local and international civil society groups due to country's poor records, poor human rights records. Nairobi's reputation as a safe haven for those fleeing political persecution is steadily declining. There have also been a story about, and I just want you to look at the headline, this headline from Kampala, Uganda, Daily Monitor. How they are covering this story is a bit interesting. I just want us to look at their headline. In this headline, they are clearly talking about Besigye missing in Nairobi. This headline is putting Nairobi in the spotlight. Is Nairobi safe? But again, how unstrategic can we be? Because this is putting Nairobi in the spotlight. The capital city of Nairobi. A city that just months ago was declared, witnessed civil unrest, and quite a number of people lost their lives. And of course, there have been reports, multiple reports of human rights violations. So we need to be a little bit wary on how we trade, because this same witnessed stories about, was it some British nationals also abducted around Nairobi, even though later they were found. Tundu Lissu also faced some problem while in the country. Foreign Affairs PS Correspondent has denied Kenyan involvement in the disappearance of Ugandan opposition leader. Of course, playing for the gallery. And much as they may be right, they may be right on this, but they need to tread very careful. I want to explain why we really, as a country, we cannot, we cannot move away from this. But before we look at that, I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel. We are moving to 100,000 subscribers. As we talk, we have 93,400. So we did 6,600 to reach 100,000. How to subscribe is you click that red button down there so that you will subscribe, and also click the notification bell. Remember, the subscription doesn't cost anything, not even a shilling. There will be nothing that will be, nothing will be deducted from your account. And of course, even your email is safe, because both from a back end and front end of the channel, we cannot get your email and probably invade your privacy. So it is safe. The advantage is when you are a subscriber, when we publish our well-researched and exclusive content, there's analysis, political analysis, you will be able to receive notification firsthand. And so you be part of this great family. Nairobi cannot disassociate itself from this Besigye disappearance, because I want us to look at the account of a taxi driver who carried Besigye and the last moments of Besigye. This has really been explained here, revealed Besigye's last moment in Nairobi before abduction. Besigye arrived in the country, according to his family, on November Saturday, and took a taxi from JKIA to his hotel room known as Waridi Paradise Hotel and Suites on Ross Avenue in Hurlingham, some 6 kilometers from CBD. Now, a few hours later, he left the hotel and boarded a taxi, which is another taxi, and headed to an address identified as 108 Riverside Drive, where he was to meet someone at an apartment known as C1102. This was the last time he was again seen on Kenyan soil. His taxi driver said that he waited for the politician at the apartment since Saturday 4 p.m. Sakumi until 4:30 a.m. the following morning, when he decided to leave after several of his texts to Besigye went unanswered. On Tuesday, the family, a source told The Nation, revealed that Besigye informed his team that he was meeting a Ugandan national at the apartment in the Riverside Drive, and this Ugandan national was supposed to be his host. However, it comes out that this Ugandan national who Besigye was meeting holds a senior rank in Ugandan military, the Ugandan People's Defense Forces. The apartment has 3 blocks, A, B, C, D, ABC, and Besigye went to a house on the 11th floor of Block C after alighting a taxi and walked into the house. A fact-finding mission established that each floor has 3 houses and that Besigye was taken to the house number 2. When Nation visited the house, there was no signs of human life. The door of the house that Besigye reportedly went to remained tightly shut, despite the Nation team knocking and camping there for a while. The guards at the main entrance of the apartment said they were not aware of the Ugandan politician had visited their address on Sunday and declined to share the CCTV footage from the day in question. The Forum for Democratic Change party leader was expected to grace the book launch of Kenyan opposition leader Martha Karua on the same day. At first, our calls went through, but the line went dead and it has remained to date. She also revealed that received distress calls from Besigye's team in Uganda, who kept asking about their leader's whereabouts. Mrs. Karua, the party leader, Kenya party leader, and the convener of Pan-African Opposition Leaders Solidarity Network, where Besigye is a member, on Wednesday said the Ugandan politician was to deliver a speech at the launch of her book. Now, all this, the government of Kenya have to release the CCTV footage of that building. And that is why we are saying there is no way we can disassociate ourselves from it, from the last moment he was in the country. And I think with the evidence that was in Kenya, I don't know how Sing'oei wants to dissociate Kenya from this Besigye disappearance. We are not doing bad. We are not really doing good on this. In July, Kenyan authorities detained 36 members of the Besigye's Forum for Democratic Change, FDC party, one of the Ugandan's main opposition groups, and deported them to Uganda, where they were charged with some terrorism-related offenses. So it is not something that is new, because in Kenya here, this is not the first time that Besigye is going through such troubles. In July, Kenyan officials arrested 36 members of his party who were holding a meeting in Kisumu, to be specific. And they were then handed over to the officials in Uganda. The Museveni's government has been accused of repeated human rights abuses against opposition leaders, supporters, illegal detentions, torture, and extrajudicial activities. Ruto's administration being seen as supporting these Museveni power antics gives Kenya a bad image. And in fact, if you look at the report that was released by Kenya Human Rights Violations, I think that was just today, if I'm not wrong, it paints a very bad picture on how we really are interacting as a country. We are obeying Chapter 4 of the Human Rights. Now, Kenya today is, as we talk, this report is coming today when in ICC, in KCC, we're actually launching our foreign policy, our renewed or rather reviewed foreign policy. And I want to believe one of the policies that Kenya have is non-interference. Now, this non-interference is normally on paper. It's normally on paper. But we need not to be seen as being part of interfering, because remember, as we talk, Tshisekedi, I don't know whether that she's, I think that T is silent now. Tshisekedi, the president of DR Congo, is yet to accept the credentials of ambassador that was dispatched in Kinshasa because of what the DRC president see as meddling. Towards the general election in DR Congo, there are some opposition leaders here who came in the country, and at the time, just a week to that general election, that election I think was in December, a week to that election, those officials were in the country and they launched some rebel movement around. And I think Nairobi said that, you know, we are a democratic country, and so we could not stop them. That is not part of our responsibility. But then that does not give us a very good standing. Now, even in, I think even in Sudan, I just want to look at it on, I think there is a story I was seeing about the story in Sudan. As we talk about non-interference, it's not really true that we've obeyed that principle of non-interference, because even in Sudan, we are not doing well. And the president, I think, sided with with some team who are seen as not really, not being fair, rather, not taking justice to it. Now, in Sudan, Ruto is leading a mediation, and one of the teams in that is uncomfortable, saying that the President Ruto have taken side with it. I think when I get it, I'll mention it even in some subsequent videos. Now, diplomats warn of dire consequences of the poor human rights record. Kenyan poor record on human rights. We are doing bad on that. I think it's not something now debatable. It's now conceived that Kenya is not doing well. Looking at how the disappearances and post-Gen Z protests, activities that have been seen, we are not really doing well, even though some we call femicide. But what is the effect of that? The effect is we run the risk of acute donor funding withdrawals. Because remember, that is one of the foreign, the friends of Kenya, or rather strategic partners of Kenya that are looking at human rights. That is the tool they will have to compel the government so that they can adhere to the rules. In fact, in Egypt, the US was actually at some point they had to cut their support, the military support. They were giving them some military support. They had to cut military support after 2 journalists were arrested by the Egyptian government by then. And they demanded, and the government demanded that they have to be released. Now, Besigye is not in good books with Museveni, of course. But Museveni, the same Museveni is also not good books with the US. Has never been in good books with the US and has always been talking about foreign infiltration. So we are getting into a very dangerous terrain. We are picking an enemy with that should not even be our enemy. Now, this also answers the question why even the church, the Catholic Church, is also raising their voice against the government's ills. So organizations that support some NGOs, some that support government projects, we run the risk of withdrawals because now we've exported. It's now going to an international scale. That when it comes to human rights, we are not really protecting political rights. I understand if Kenyan government was accomplished to this, was part of this scheme to arrest Besigye, then we have also breached some East African treaty and even international law. At the time when we want Raila to go to AU, optics are not looking good. The other effect here, the unholy alliance of Kenya, Uganda, of course, security forces. Remember, if this is to happen, I don't want to believe that Ugandan police come to Kenya and arrest Museveni, Besigye and go. No, it has to be arrest. The execution has to be done by, of course, an alliance with the local agencies here. Now, that unholy alliance of local agencies can be understood as political affairs meddling. I want to believe that Besigye have supporters in Uganda who are also keen supporters of these subscribers in this channel. I've always been doing some video analysis on Uganda. What will they see? What will they see if Kenya was part of this scheme? They see some internal meddling. Now that internal meddling, I remember that during the Gen Z protest, one of the bloggers, I think, from Uganda was actually saying that at some point Museveni donated some security forces to the country, some police to the country to also help. Is Ruto and Museveni in some holy alliance to manage politics and rather to manage suppression from those ends? And I think it's something that will attract international condemnation. If you look at the way different organizations have reacted to that arrest, it doesn't really look well now. There is a perception, Ruto should try to disassociate with Museveni. Of course, I'm wrong, he cannot. But why? Museveni represents an image of dictatorship and perpetuation of power. Yeah, it's known that he is one of the longest serving presidents in East Africa. Yeah, and is associated with every effort to remain in power. So if Kenyans see such a story that Ruto is supporting Museveni fixes politics, it doesn't even look good optics even for us, for the locals in the country, because they say, oh, are we also seeing the making of another Museveni in Kenya? And not really good. We are a country that is ruled by the rule of law. Civil unrest, it also has the danger of fueling civil unrest even within the country, as the people see a need to liberate the country. And I'm a bit curious as I finish. Someone from Uganda can help us. Kwani, Besigye is an opposition leader. The wife is saying that TV is kidnapped in the country and is being held in a military jail. Okay, Kwani how is Uganda operating? Kwani don't they have police, military? Why would they take an opposition leader to a military base? And maybe I don't understand. You know, someone from Uganda, tell us, what is a military jail? I don't know whether in Kenya we have such. I don't think so. And why would military be involved in this? Is their police service weak? Do we have the structure? By the us, we might have problems that we have a very strong police service. Yeah, with its own demerits, but it's very strong and elaborate. I don't think we can arrest an opposition leader and go and keep in a military camp. I don't think we can extrapolate to that. But how is Uganda that even if Besigye is kidnapped, then he has to be taken to a military jail? I'm a bit curious on that. So I want to read the comment section and see. You know, it's also time to learn some few things here and there. Thank you.